Hey everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. Sorry for the sunlight. I'm parked facing west. So, B and I are in Upper Sandusky, Ohio, on our way to Pennsylvania. I talked to my fleet manager today, and I'm probably not going to go through the training school for trainers until after I come off home time in August. I'm just going to stay out and run. I'll probably get home for a night, maybe tomorrow night, Friday night, something like that. So that'll be cool. And then I'll get back on the road with B. I don't have to get her off the truck quite yet. So that's an update on us. So, I kind of understand my place in the world. I understand my position on the food chain. And I think it's important that it's a good skill. Sometimes people don't, or they're not really circumspect about it. They're not really self-aware. I think I do know those things. But I also understand how my employers make money, and I understand how much support I need for me as a profit center for the company to be profitable for the company. Forget about the company I work for and my wages. I'm a profit center for Prime Inc. So how is it that I can be better at that competency? And the answer is, in many ways, just having good support from the people that aren't behind a wheel. Whether it's mechanics, fleet managers, the payroll people, the people that are great at taking care of us when we're at the terminals, the food service workers, the people that clean the showers and the bunk rooms, just phenomenal. But I mentioned this message that I had sent to safety about the spring hangers for my trailer airlines and power cable, and they never did get back to me. So I was kind of feeling salty yesterday because I was actually at that shipper for pretty much 8 hours. Let's call it 8 hours, 7 and a lot of change. So when I got to bed at 4 this morning, I just, because I waited on hold for like 15 minutes to do my live unloaded call, and nobody answered. And finally, I was just like, all right, I'm leaving. I'm going to get on the road. And so I did. And so then when I stopped, there's a message. Hey, you haven't done a live loaded call. If you have, or we didn't get one. If you haven't done it, please do so. So I call them up, while I'm in bed, and I call them up and I say, hey, here's my live loaded call. And sorry, I'm just switching my logs over. So right about that same time, I sent a message to safety. I'm like, hey, is this where I send a message if I've had an accident? Well, guess what? I got a message back immediately. Now, it was from Night Dispatch, but they're like, oh, do this macro 34, take pictures, are you okay, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I didn't have an accident. I just want to know, why doesn't safety respond to, messages when you send them? So later on, I got a message from safety. And it's like, well, and mind you, this doesn't really help their argument at all. This really doesn't make them look better. They're like, oh, well, there's like 7 people that monitor these messages coming in. And I'm like, okay, so I didn't say this, but I was like, 7? Oh, so it wasn't just one person dropping the ball. It was like a whole team fumble. So I said, oh, well, I guess I fell through the cracks, you know? And he's like, well, just resend the message. I'm like, I said, never mind, I understand what's going on now. So then he finds the message, because it was, I mean, it's the middle of the night on the 15th of July. So then he's like, well, why didn't you just message RA? I'm like, I did message RA, you know? And I said, but it would be nice if I got a response. That would be a professional way to handle things. Even if you thought what I said was stupid, just respond to me. I said, because if I go to you with a safety concern and you don't do anything or even respond to me, then really you're not the safety department, you're just the accident department. Because and I'm not just talking about at Prime, I'm talking about at all these trucking companies, right? Like, if safety calls you, it's never for a good reason, right? And they don't seem to respond to anything unless you're telling them you had an accident. Then it's them trying to figure out how you were to blame. Like, that's the first inquiry, and then, like some people have said on their channels, they also take their $500 deposit, right? But if I was backing into this parking spot and I just scraped the other person's trailer a little bit, right? Man, safety would be all over me like a bad suit. But I go to them with a situation where my life was on the line. Like, if anybody, you know, I'm over on the side of the interstate underneath my trailer in the dead of night, and, you know, all that's out are my flashers, because I got right under there. I didn't even put triangles out, I admit that. But, like, if somebody blows a tire, or a chain comes off a flatbed, goes swinging out there, or if somebody just plows into the back of my truck while I'm under there right in front of the tandems, you know, I'm gonna get hurt, and I might get killed. So it is a safety item to me that I have to do something that is preventable, right? That I have to take a high risk to do something that could be preventable with the correct maintenance program. But safety, to me, is not just reactive, it's proactive. And that's the problem with these safety departments all over the country, all these trucking companies. They're not about safety. They're about reacting when a mistake is made, right? And then, of course, what they'll do is, you know, like I remember a few years ago at Schugle, they're like, oh, we've had 8 jackknifes this winter, blah, 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 lower your speed, blah, 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 following distance, blah, 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 get off the road if it's bad. You know, I got a 12-year-old daughter that knows that, right? That's not proactive. That's just like, oh, we had a bunch of wrecks, now let's just upbraid everybody about it. It's like when I was at Schugle, there were like 3 DUIs in a week and a bunch of freaking sideswipe accidents, and then the safety director just sends out a blast to everybody about basically how screwed up we are. Why? Because he doesn't care. Like, honestly, if somebody did plow into my truck and I got killed, this is what the conversation would be like the next day in Springfield. Ooh, our driver got killed? Oh, that's too bad. Hey, so it wasn't our fault, right? No CSA points on our company score. All right, thumbs up all the way around. That's the reality, right? That's the reality. It's not about safety, it's about the numbers. It's about our CSA score, our insurance premiums. That's what this is, and of course, liability, civil liability, stuff like that. That's what it's about. And so when I came up with just a small suggestion to say, hey, it would be safer for drivers, right? If I didn't have to jury rig cables under a trailer on 2 different occasions in like 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks. That would be safer. Because when I was in the military, like the Naval Safety Center and all the other safety organizations, all the way down to the command level, it was about preventing loss. It was dealing with loss, right? Like investigations and stuff like that. But it was really about prevention. We constantly were bombarded with safety messages, and all the time we would be getting safe. I mean, safety was a part of the culture. And I wasn't even in the most risky, parts of it. I was in aviation for a while. I was in a helicopter squadron. There's a whole, safety is a huge thing with aircraft. It's a huge thing with nuclear reactors, submarines, level 1 systems. But safety is in everybody's bloodstream in the military, at least in the Navy. It's part of our DNA. And the measure of safety is not how few, what our scores were, but did we lose a human being? Did we have a human being get injured, right? Because just like a fighter aircraft, right? This truck can be replaced fairly easily, right? I mean, yeah, it's expensive. The trailer and the tractor, they're worth probably $200,000. But the military was like, the most important thing is our personnel. An aircraft is nothing compared to what it costs to train a fighter pilot. A nuclear engine, reactor has to be operated safely, but we want to keep our people safe. That's why, But I don't get that vibe from company safety departments. It's not about safety. It's about numbers. So they should just change their name to the accident department, because it seems like if I don't have an accident, they're not interested in it. They're like, oh, and I, the guy was, and he basically punted the ball. It was like he couldn't be bothered. They couldn't be bothered to read the message, and then they couldn't be bothered to respond to it. And then when I asked for a response, his response was, you didn't send it to the right people. I was crazy, but I was hoping that there would be this holistic approach to safety, where the safety department, because they got some, bandwidth, and the RA guys, because they got some bandwidth, would get together with the maintenance people and go, hey, we had a driver identify this. Could you at least look at this? I'm not saying you got to change your policies and procedures because I'm one guy that didn't, was not happy to have to get under a trailer because he was throwing sparks, which was foreseeable and preventable, right? It's that they just didn't seem to give a crap. They weren't under that trailer at 2 o'clock in the morning in Nebraska. They don't care. That's my issue. And so, it's not, and again, it's not just Prime, right? It's all of these trucking companies. They say safety is their #1 goal. Well, yeah, it is, because it affects the bottom line, but it's not because they really care about people. It's just because they don't want to have it cost them any money, right? That's safety. Safety is dollars. It's not lives to these trucking companies. And so, thanks for tuning in to my rant. I'm still going to do things as safely as I possibly can. I don't want to put a truck in the ditch. I don't want to hit somebody. I'm going to do things safe. But I'm also going to advocate for them doing things that help us be safe, including not having a breakdown or a mechanical problem that could have been prevented. We do our pre-trips. We look at a lot of stuff. That's not one of them. But that's not a field maintenance level job. That's a terminal maintenance level job. We deserve that. So anyway, I'm happy to hear your comments. If you don't like what I'm saying, please subscribe. If you do like what I'm saying, hit that like button. Like I said, I'm happy to hear comments, especially from other companies, people that are driving for other companies, guys at GP or night or whoever. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll be back with you soon. Stay safe. Bye.